The landscape of film lights is vastly growing. In recent years, LED fixtures have been dominating film sets, so brands are working around the clock to pump out the most innovative LED lights. LED truly opens up a new world of filmmaking because it's so easy to use. The downside for the new filmmaker, however, is the vast number of brands also comes with the everlasting question of which fixtures to use. So, in this video, we're talking about lights. These days, there are loads of different brands on the market. Some of the most popular brands are Aputure, Amaran, Nanlite, Godox, Arri, Nanlux, Cream Source, Dedolight, Light Panels, Aladdin, Kinoflow, Astera, and Digital Sputnik, which is kind of a new brand, but pretty cool. Let's take a closer look at some of the more affordable options. In my opinion, there's only 3 brands that really stick out in this range. That is Aputure and Amaran, Godox, and Nanlite. All these brands make extremely high quality products. Not a soul on this planet would be able to tell the difference between any of these lights when looking to the actual image. However, there are some things to keep in mind when deciding which light to get. Those are output power, light quality, connectivity, and whether you need a bicolored light or a regular daylight light. Pretty much all newer lights from either of those brands have a very high CRI, usually more than 95, which means they're extremely accurate. CRI is the measurement of how colors look under a light source when compared to sunlight. The index is measured from 0 to 100, with a perfect 100 indicating that colors under the light source appear exactly the same as they would under natural sunlight. This is of course very important because we do not want to mess up that beautifully brown leather Chesterfield that the art director put down so, nicely. We want it to be brown and not murky. Yeah. Anyway, where it gets interesting is the connectivity. Both Nanlite and Aputure have a great app to control light from a distance. I personally prefer the Aputure app for its friendly user interface. Godox, on the other hand, lacks a proper app for older models, but they're fighting their way up to the big boys. But more on that later. The output is pretty self-explanatory. You can expect that pretty much all the lights mentioned above output sort of the same amount of light in the same wattage range. There might be a little bit of a difference, but this is so minimal that I don't even bother to dive too deep into it. Another factor that plays a huge role in the output of the light is the Kelvin variation, or bicolored lights. Panels, for example, are known for their incredible range in colors, since the amount of small LED lights on the fixture is much larger. But a COB LED light only has 1 chip, so how do they do that? Well, if you take a closer look at the chip, you can see small colored lines on the chip itself. This lets you change the color temperature from roughly 2700 Kelvin to 7000 Kelvin. This, however, lowers the overall output of the light. So a regular COB has a larger output than the bicolored counterpart. Let's take a quick look at some of the more professional fixtures which you often find on larger film sets. These fixtures are the Arri Orbiter, Arri Sky Panel, Nanlux Dyno 1200C, Nanlux Evoke 1200D, Aputure 600X and D, Aputure 1200D, Cream Source Vortex 8, Light Panels Gemini 2X1, Kinoflow Freestyle, and Digital Sputnik, which is kinda new, but it's used on Dune, Dedolights, and Aladdin light mats. These fixtures are often used for bigger productions and not necessarily privately owned, but gaffers usually rent trucks filled with these bad boys to use on set. They're usually connected through a DMX panel, such as Gaffer Control. This is a very robust version of the app connectivity on the smaller LED models mentioned earlier. Let's talk about my favorite lights, and most importantly, why they are my fave. My all-time favorite light until this point is the Aputure 600X. The reason for this is the flexibility paired with the insane output power. The light gives me enough flexibility to recreate a small sun from outside to inside, but also lets me use it as a key light in a dimly lit environment because of the 0.1% increments it changes levels. The app is insane and works with all the lights from Aputure and Amaran. A newcomer to the family is the Godox 600D, which was given to me by a friend of mine, Joost from Disnet. This is a pre-production model built for IBC, which, as many of you know, was cancelled due to COVID restrictions in Holland. Too bad. This light is insanely bright and well built, something I honestly didn't expect from Godox. One thing that surprised me the most is the app, which actually works as good as SideSlink. One major benefit this app has over SideSlink is the fact that you can lock your phone and reopen it, and you don't have to wait until everything is loaded up again to start tweaking. You can just go mental on the controls right away. The build quality is amazing, like a tank, I would say. The cables have a good length, and the parts feel solid. It's definitely on par with the Aperture, and really like it. Right here. Really heavy. Amaran, the sister brand of Aperture, is my go-to YouTubing lighting kit. They're small, compact, yet they don't lack in output power. They come in extremely bright at such a small package. Amaran is more tailored toward the studio content creator, hence the build quality of the light. They're rather plasticky. So what would be my conclusion on all of this? Well, just get yourself 5 sky panels and you're good to go. Cool, thanks for watching. Kidding. The most important thing is to be true to yourself. Do you need a 600X for the line of work that you do? Or are you shooting basic interviews 99% of the time? Well, then an Amaran 200X might be just fine for you. I run the 600X on 2% output on interviews, which is overkill. If you're more of a dynamic shooter doing all sorts of things, then you may benefit from a larger CUB fixture. I'm a documentary filmmaker shooting a lot of quick turnover stuff, and I use the 600X and the Godox 600D all the time. But when I'm doing smaller jobs, I find myself throwing the Amarans 200D and 200X and the P60C and P60X in my trunk more often. Bottom line, make sure you do your calculations. Buy the item that fits your work so you can earn it back when using it. Don't waste money on overkill lights that you won't use to its full potential in the next upcoming year. All the brands I talked about are great, so it really comes down to your budget and wishes for connectivity. Thanks guys. That was it. Hopefully it was useful. Hopefully you've learned something about lights. You know, these little cute lights versus these monsters. Anyway, leave your comments down in the comments below, as always, and I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.